At UDC, we are into three major areas. We're into agro-processing, we're into mineral value addition or mineral beneficiation, but we're also in the service sector. In terms of specifics, and all the projects are scattered around. In agriculture, we are seeing more investment coming up in the tea subsector to add value to tea for export purposes, and these will be mainly in the western axis, so Zombo, from Zombo down up to Kisoro. We do hope that we shall have another 2 value addition facilities in that area. We are into coffee processing, so we expect to see again 2 coffee processing facilities coming up in the next 1 or 2 years. We're into cocoa processing. Cocoa is grown in Obondobugyo, currently exported as beans and without any value addition at all. So we finished all our studies. We are ready for capitalization and action on the cocoa in Obondobugyo district. We are into sugarcane processing into sugar and other products. We are looking at a possibility of further investment in Atiak sugar, especially the farming side of it. We are looking at also in the near future to invest in Amuru sugar as well. Already we are into cotton processing in Luka district, company called Mutuma. We want to invest more and make it more vibrant and more impactful. When it comes to mineral value addition, our thought process are on 2 projects at the moment as we study more. So we are studying sheet glass production in Masaka. We are also looking at cement production in Moroto. And this is not only cement, it is clinker and cement production in Moroto. And then we are studying more on the iron and steel and also on salt at Lake Katwe. Iron and steel in Moko in Kavale. So those are some of the projects in the mineral value addition space. In terms of the service sector, we are looking forward to investing more hotel services or the hospitality industry. We are looking just across behind me here, we are setting up a convention center. We are setting up a convention center that we should see by the end of next year in place. We are also investing in a few facilities in different parts of the country as well, hotel facilities. Yeah. These summits are important. 1, to bring the policy discussion to the people. 2, for us to come and share what we do and how we do them. 3, to pick some key lessons from the different actors. So these platforms are very good, both for the policymakers, for the implementers, and for the public. So my expectation is really for you to feel the pain and go and run and see a doctor. But when it is an economic pain, in most cases, people do not have a full picture of how this pain comes about. So the summit is a very good platform to do this, to communicate this, but also to let the policymakers and the decision makers know that we can do a little more differently and have bigger impact for the communities as well. The message I can give is that we live in hard times not created by our own making, hard times created by global circumstances. We have COVID, we have the Ukraine war, we have the transmission mechanism of all those into our economies. So we have inflation going up, so we need to tighten our belts. We need to tighten our belts, and we will live within the circumstance. Policy is also going to tighten up, and will not get the resources as we want in the short run, because we have some cancerous diseases we want to cure first, like inflation. And beyond that, we should be able to see this economy rebound and be able to move to the growth levels that we need.
So first of all, as Uganda, I must say that this has been a year of surprises. And why I say it has been a year of surprises, we came from COVID like any other country in the world. Our bullish sort of attitude was that we are going to have a very good 2022. There are two things we never planned for, in my opinion. Number one was obviously the geopolitical tension, especially the conflict in Russia and Ukraine. That has really affected our economy in a sense that the supply chains were severely disrupted. And we felt this really interacting with the clients that we do business with. And obviously the other surprise has been Ebola. So to me, I must say that, first of all, Ugandans are extremely resilient people, because in a sense that we've managed to go through some of these challenges. And from the look of things, I still carry that positive, bullish, attitude into 2023. We have to soldier on. There's a lot of effort that has been done by the government to curb the spread of Ebola. My prayer is that we continue to see any cases coming up for Ebola, and obviously we continue to see really the tensions that have rocked the world in terms of disrupting practically everything under the sun. For as long as those tensions can be suppressed and we go back to trading normally, we are in a very good position as a country to really take full advantage of the opportunities that God has given us, especially around the natural resources that we have. So if we fully take full advantage of them, we are going to be a force to reckon with in terms of economic growth in the region. So I'm extremely positive. It's not like there's a very good story to tell all the time. So I mean, we've seen the numbers. The economic growth has been revised to a much lower figure, around 2 to 3%. But that said, there's still quite a lot of opportunities coming our way in 2023 and beyond.
Digitization has enabled banks, one, reach more customers, but also very importantly, to enable customers have alternatives in terms of service. Because with the digital channels, a customer can actually access banking services 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. What that does to a bank or for a bank is that you can serve many more customers, provide more services, be available to customers in a cheaper way, as opposed to the traditional method of opening a branch and everyone convenes at a branch, you serve them there. Now you can serve as many customers without the need to physically interface. Digitization is not just about internet banking. You also have services on the phone. For example, at Postbank, we have USSD code for those who cannot afford a smartphone. And certain services, quite a number of services are available on that small phone. And today, 27 million Ugandans have phones, which really implies that you can reach as many Ugandans as possible. You can access balances, you can initiate transfers, you can access mobile money, you can pay utilities on that small phone. You don't necessarily need internet, or you don't need to have a smartphone. So still that is part of digital. You have ATM channels, that is still part of digital, where a number of activities actually can happen. Most of whatever happens in a branch actually can happen on that ATM. You can deposit instantly, you can access funds, you can pay utilities. Quite a number of things are available. See your balances, statements, a number of things can be done on that ATM. So it is not just about the internet banking. You have a lot of other forms of channels that we also count as digital, part of the digital program.
UDB's goals are really to promote sustainable socio-economic development in the country. We do this by supporting the development and expansion of priority sectors. And currently we support about 6 or so sectors. So it's agriculture, and with agriculture, anything in the value chain. There's primary production or agro processing, or whatever it is within the agriculture value chain. We support manufacturing, which is we look at it in the context of agro-industry, mineral-based value addition, and then manufacturing, which is enterprises that do not use agriculture as a primary source of raw material, but any other kind of manufacturing or value addition. And then we support infrastructure to the extent that we can as a cross-cutting issue, and where there are opportunities for the private sector to support and complement what government is doing in that sector. We support tourism and also human capital development, where we really look at health and education, but in those sectors there are specific priorities. There are emerging service sectors such as ICT, and some others where there are opportunities for people to make a living, such as creatives. We are starting to see what we can do in that sector, because I think it's coming in or starting to emerge as a key economic sector, especially when you talk about employment or youth employment. So in terms of sectors, those are the priorities. So anything within those sectors will be priorities of the bank. We look at this as key economic or productive sectors because of the strategic importance they have to the overall health of the economy. And I think this is also where we can really be additional in terms of achieving or realizing the bank's mandate.
Looking at import substitution, when we look at our biggest imports, especially from within the region, mainly inputs and a couple of raw materials here and there, most of these, a good chunk of these actually, we have the capabilities to do that internally. And for the most part, what has been causing a bit of friction has been the actual costs of production, the actual costs of doing business. Things like energy costs, things like capital costs, things like even the quality of labor. However, over the last couple of years, many of these have been, there's a clear-cut trajectory or trend that someone can see that there is constant resource and effort that is being put to these. And if we continue at that, and are setting clear-cut benchmarks, and the benchmark in this case would be to what extent are we growing that import substitution. Then we can find ourselves in a situation where one, we are providing capital, or we are attracting capital that is much more competitive than in our regional in our regional trading blocks. That way, our cost of production goes lower and making our goods cheaper there. Secondly, about energy, I still think there is a lot more that can be done in terms of bring down the overall cost of energy down, and not just bring it down, but making sure that it's constantly available. So you're looking at, for example, the electricity tariffs and some of the other energy inputs. If we can get that right, we get our energy mix right, we get our capital mix right, and then we get our human resourcing right, then we've set up a solid foundation for import substitution. Yeah, so looking at our footprint regionally and what we are bringing to the market regionally, I think we have a fantastic opportunity as a country to continue leveraging on some of the great successes that we've had. For example, we've had success in agriculture, we've had some form of success in mining, and there's a stronger potential in terms of what can be done in those two sectors. And I think that we do have a comparative advantage when you look at where we're seated as a country vis-a-vis our regional partners. So we need to be able to harness this. Obviously, things like tariff negotiations between the different countries and opening up some of these boundaries such that it's easier for business people and entrepreneurs to provide services and products across the different jurisdictions would suffice. Of course, there is still the challenge of the geopolitical risks within all these neighboring countries. However, when you peel the onion, you still realize that it's the same basic services and the same basic goods that will be needed. And as a country, we do have an advantage, for example, in agriculture, so we can easily leverage that. Of course, taking into consideration incentives to attract longer-term capital that can be able to position us as a country to take advantage of this ineptness.
These goals are really to promote sustainable socio-economic development in the country. We do this by supporting the development and expansion of priority sectors. And currently we support about 6 or so sectors. So it's agriculture, and with agriculture, anything in the value chain. There's primary production or agro-processing or whatever it is within the agriculture value chain. We support manufacturing, which is, we look at it in the context of, agro-industry, mineral-based value addition, and then manufacturing, which is enterprises that do not use agriculture as a primary source of raw material, but any other kind of manufacturing or value addition. And then we support infrastructure to the extent that we can as a cross-cutting issue, and where there are opportunities for the private sector to support and complement what government is doing in that sector. We support tourism and also human capital development, where we really look at health and education, but in those sectors there are specific priorities. There are emerging service sectors such as ICT and some others where there are opportunities for people to make a living, such as creatives. We are starting to see what we can do in that sector, because I think it's coming in or starting to emerge as a key economic sector, especially when you talk about employment or youth employment. So in terms of sectors, those are the priorities. So anything within those sectors would be priorities of the bank. We look at this as key economic or productive sectors because of the strategic importance they have to the overall health of the economy. And I think this is also where we can really be additional in terms of achieving or realizing the bank's mandate.
My name is Simon Mwebaze. I head the wonderful investment team at UAP Old Mutual Financial Services Uganda, and it's such a privilege for me to be attending the forum. Okay, concerning the policies that the country has in regards to deepening savings and investments, I think we've generally come a long way as a country. When we look at some of the policies that are available in terms of, first of all, mobilizing the savings, and then once the savings have been mobilized, the policies regarding to investments, they're quite accommodative. Take an example of the tax treatment for some of the vehicles, the investment vehicles, for example. Collective investment schemes right now have a tax exemption. There are tax exemptions around savings and credit cooperatives. And all these tax incentives, the goal has really been to mobilize savings quickly. And then the next phase would be to look at the deployment phase or at the investment phase, what incentives can be put in place such that when this capital comes and is deployed, investors are able to get the full benefit. So in terms of areas of development, we need to see a bit of innovation, especially around taxation of the investment proceeds. We still think that there is a lot of room for improvement, particularly incentives that attract longer term capital or more patient capital, like private equity, longer dated bonds, and of course working hand in hand with the broad capital markets, including the different players of the capital markets, like the Securities Exchange and different body corporates and financial institutions.